The Mercury Theater on the air. The Columbia Broadcasting System takes pleasure in bringing you the 12th in its series of weekly broadcasts featuring Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air.
Nancy's dating Herbert again, so it's up to me to do something. I don't want to drip for a brother-in-law.
Oh, that boy.
That boy.
That Brewster boy. Quaker Oats, truly America's super breakfast, brings you That Brewster Boy, written by Pauline Hopkins and starring Eddie Firestone, Jr.
Broadway's My Beat, from Times Square to Columbus Circle, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world.
Broadway's My Beat, with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover.
All hands on deck for Don Winslow. Stand by for action. Stand by for adventure. Stand by for Don Winslow of the Navy, by the makers of delicious Post Toasties. Yes, shipmates, Don Winslow is on the air, bringing you the exciting adventures of the naval intelligence officers who fight against spies and saboteurs behind the lines so our great Navy can battle the enemy on the front lines.
At the gallop! Ho!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier. The saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire. And the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
From New York City, we bring you the Lifebuoy program starring Al Jolson with Park Carcass and our special guest stars Gail Patrick and Connie Boswell with Lud Gluskin and his orchestra.
Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Buck Rogers is back on the air. Buck and Wilma and all their fascinating friends and mysterious enemies in the super-scientific 25th century. And now for Buck Rogers and his thrilling adventures 500 years in the future.
On your way till the cows come home. On your way till the cows come home. Dear old them in the dell, and then you can tell. Won't you wait, wait, wait by the old red gate? Won't you wait till the cows come home?
Good evening, radio listeners. A contented good evening to you all this busy, bustling night before Christmas, with a tree to trim and last-minute presents to wrap and excited children to shoo off to bed. A right Merry Christmas Eve to you. May this carnation-contented hour bring you joy and pleasure. Tonight we have a Christmas tree to trim, a tree with spreading branches of melody, sparkling with song, and laden with gifts for you. The Carnation Quartet and the Concert Orchestra, under the leadership of our conductor Morgan Eastman, and the Lullaby Lady are all going to help. And here's the first present for our tree. The card says, "For contented our friends far and near." It's a gift of music.
Once again, we present Our Gal Sunday, the story of an orphan girl named Sunday from the little mining town of Silver Creek, Colorado, who in young womanhood married England's richest, most handsome lord, Lord Henry Brenston. The story that asks the question, can this girl from a little mining town in the West find happiness as the wife of a wealthy and titled Englishman?
I was a communist for the FBI. Starring Dana Andrews and an exciting tale of danger and espionage. I was a communist for the FBI. From the actual records and authentic experiences of Matt Cvetic come many of the incidents in this unusual story. Here is our star, Dana Andrews, as Matt Cvetic, who for 9 fantastic years lived as a communist for the FBI.
I'm the Comic Weekly Man, the jolly Comic Weekly Man, and I'm here to read the funnies to you happy boys and honeys. Yes, boys and girls, it's Comic Weekly time. And here I come right into your house to bring a little fun and happiness. Right out of the pages of Puck the Comic Weekly, straight into your living room. Your friend, the Comic Weekly Man, the jolly Comic Weekly Man.
So, you think you're smart, eh? You're nobody's fool? Brother, you can be taken.
We bring you Bunko Squad. The Bunko Artist, the Swindler, the Con Man. He comes in 1,000 disguises. He has 1,000,000 tricks. He can make a sucker out of you. Be on your guard. For the protection of you, the American public, we open once again tonight the files of Bunko Squad, authentic cases drawn from the police records of the nation. You will be guided through a case of Bunko step by step, as it actually happened, as it could happen to you.
The Abbott and Costello program. Listen to the rhythm of Will Osborne and his orchestra, the great song styles of Connie Haynes and Bob Matthews. And that happy, heavy, hippie little horseman who, when asked to pick the winner of the Kentucky Derby, glanced at his racing form and calmly said,
This is the family doctor.
Here's your pass to the Globe Theater. This is the Globe Theater, the radio playhouse especially for men and women of the armed forces of the United Nations. Just as the Globe Theater has meant the best in entertainment since the days of Shakespeare, today it means the best in radio drama for servicemen and women all over the globe.
From Hollywood, Skippy, the new improved peanut butter, presents the Skippy Hollywood Theater. The Skippy Hollywood Theater proudly presents one of the greatest stars of stage and screen, Herbert Marshall, in Heaven is Like That, written by True Boardman, produced by C.P. McGregor.
Your Auto Light dealer presents your favorite friends from Gasoline Alley. Hold it, Wilmer. Hold it till I get this phone.
Okay, Skizix.
Wallet and Bubble Garage, Skizix Wallet speaking. What's that? Yes, sir, we can fix it. We can fix anything on four wheels. Sure, we'll be waiting for you right here in Gasoline Alley. Yes, it's Gasoline Alley, the comic strip that's a favorite in more than 100 newspapers. In this episode, The Adventure of Jealous Jessica, Skizix and Wilmer discover that it's better to give than to receive, especially when the gift involves a new hat for your wife. But first, a word from the friendly Auto Light dealer in your own hometown.
The Adventures of Frank Race, starring Tom Collins. Many things were changed during the war. The face of the earth was altered, and the people of the earth changed. Before the war, Frank Race was an attorney, but he traded his law books for the cloak and dagger of the OSS. And when it was over, his former life was over too. Adventure had become his business. The Adventures of Frank Race.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. A pair of hold-up men have been operating in your city. You know their method of operation. You know what they look like. Your job? Get them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
Ladies and gentlemen, the secret word is name, N-A-M-E.
Really?
You bet your life.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Groucho Marx in You Bet Your Life, the comedy quiz show transcribed from Hollywood. And here he is, the one, the only...
Well, here I am again with a chance for each of our couples to win up to $10,000.
Now for tonight's story. Let's go beyond tomorrow. Are you afraid to face tomorrow, or whatever may lie beyond tomorrow? Do you think you're up to spending a weekend on the moon, or entertaining house guests from Mars? Can you and your children adjust to the strange, new, wonderful world that is being wrought in the test tubes and cyclotrons of science beyond tomorrow? Beyond Tomorrow, a new program of probabilities drawn from the vast library of science fiction, where anything is possible and possibly may happen to you.
The Harold Perry Show. And now, Harold Perry is Honest Harold the Homemaker.
The town of Melrose Springs boasts one radio station and one newspaper, both owned by an old boaster named Mr. Carruthers. One of the things he doesn't boast about is a radio program on his station called Honest Harold the Homemaker. Why? Well, you'll find out. Listening to Honest Harold is a morning must in Melrose Springs, especially with the ladies. Shall we join them?
Well, good morning, girls. Are you ready? Yeah.
Command Performance, USA. Presented this week and every week till it's over there. Okay there, gang. This is Harry Von Zell reminding you that it's time to join us once again for another session dedicated to answering your requests to Command Performance, Armed Forces Radio, Los Angeles, USA.
Whenever I'm hired for a job, I can always expect the worst. Little did I know that this time it would mean leaving my dearest friends.
Have Gun, Will Travel. Starring Mr. John Dehner as Paladin. San Francisco, 1875. The Carlton Hotel, headquarters of a man called Paladin.
The Carter Coal Company and the dealers of Olga Coal present The Mummers in the Little Theater of the Air.
And murders, too. The hermit knows of them all. Turn out your lights. Turn them out. Have you heard the story of Handsom's ghost? Eh? Then listen while the hermit tells you the story.
NBC presents Frank Lovejoy in Night Beat.
Hi, this is Randy Stone. I cover the night beat for the Chicago Star. Yep, I cover the night. My beat is about 8 square miles of darkness, and mister, that's a lot of night. Every evening I start walking into it, and let it swirl around me and let it swallow me up. Part of me relaxes, part of me becomes tense and wary. Like a hunter coming back to the jungle, I feel at home, but I know that there's danger.
Adam Hatch presents The Strange Dr. Weird.
Good evening. Come in, won't you? Why, what's the matter? Surely you're not nervous. Perhaps it will calm you if I tell you a story. It's a rather odd story about a rather odd individual. You see, he was a morgue keeper. I call his story The Man Who Talked with Death.
Gentlemen of the radio audience, this is Graham McNamee speaking. We bring you a period of delightful entertainment sponsored by Coca-Cola, that pure drink of natural flavors served 9 million times a day. A half hour devoted to popular music and unusual news of sports by Grant and Wright. We dedicate this program to the pause that refreshes. The pause that refreshes, as everybody knows, means to drop your cares for a minute, relax, and enjoy the life and sparkle you find in an ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Hello, are you there? Well, we're here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 ways better. Swan soap.
Yes, sir, Swan, the new white floating soap, 8 ways better than old-style floating soaps, presents Paul Whiteman. Your Swanee announcer, Bill Goodwin. Our singer, Jimmy Cash. Well, I Swan. Here are the stars of our show, George Burns and Gracie Allen. And now, let's go to George and Gracie's home.
Mail call from the United States of America. Stand by, Americans, stand by, fight fighting men of the United Nations. Here's Mail Call, one big package of words and music and laughter delivered to you by the stars from whom you want to hear. And standing at the microphone now to act as your mistress of ceremonies is the talented young star who has clicked so solidly in pictures like DeBarry Was a Lady and Best Foot Forward. She has just recently returned to Hollywood after playing many camps and hospitals throughout the country. Here is lovely Lucille Ball.
Thank you, Don Wilson, and warmest greetings to you men on all the fighting fronts.
Good evening. This is Sergeant X. They say that ghosts and the like just don't exist. That when a person passes on, he just lies quietly, not bothering another soul, so to speak. You believe that, don't you? Mm-hmm. Well, did you ever hear about the skull that walked? No? Then listen, my friends, to the Mystery Playhouse.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. Escape, brought to you by your Richfield gasoline dealer and the Richfield Oil Corporation of New York. Marketers of Richfield gasolines with Xylene, Rich Lube, all-weather motor oil, and other famous petroleum products. Look for the Richfield Eagle on the cream and blue pumps.
Tonight, we escape to the jungles of South America and a seething tale of terror and violence as told by James Poe in Bloodbath, starring Mr. Vincent Price.
The National Broadcasting Company now presents Stella Dallas, a continuation on the air of the true-to-life story of mother love and sacrifice, in which Stella Dallas saw her beloved daughter Laurel marry into wealth and society, and realizing the difference in their tastes and worlds went out of Laurel's life. These episodes in the later life of Stella Dallas are based on the famous novel of that name by Olive Higgins Prouty and are written by Anne Hummert.
You're twice as sure with two great names, Frigidaire and General Motors. Frigidaire brings you Hollywood Star Time. Today we present The Lodger, starring Vincent Price. Due to a sudden severe attack of laryngitis, Ida Lupino will not appear as previously announced. Today, with Mr. Price, you will hear the noted Hollywood radio actress, Kathy Lewis. Each week at this time, Frigidaire brings you direct from Hollywood radio versions of the finest motion pictures with Hollywood's greatest stars. Today, Hollywood Star Time presents the radio production of the dramatic 20th Century Fox picture, The Lodger. 20th Century Fox also are producers of Dragonwyck, which stars Gene Tierney, Vincent Price, and Walter Houston. Now, in just a minute, The Lodger. Irene Dunn, Fred McMurray Show. Starring Irene Dunn as Susan and Fred McMurray as George. Together in a gay, new, exciting comedy adventure, Bright Star. The Irene Dunn, Fred McMurray Show with Irene Dunn as Susan Armstrong, owner and editor of the Hillsdale Morning Star, and Fred McMurray as George Harvey, her ace reporter. Things, as usual, are happening in the offices of the Morning Star, and as usual, they're happening to Susan and George.
Post Bran Flakes presents Believe It or Not. Again, Post 40% Bran Flakes bring you Bob Ripley with more of his amazing Believe It or Not, with B.A. Ralph and his orchestra and lovely Linda Lee. Life is swell when you keep well. And here's that facile, felicitous finder of faultless, firm-bounded, far-flung, flabbergasting features, Believe It or Not, Bob Ripley.
Though it hath no tongue, murder will out. Rainier Brewing Company, brewers of Rainier Beer and Ale, presents Murder Will Out. Starring William Gargan as Inspector Burke, Chief of Homicide, with Eddie Marr as Detective Nolan, in another challenging story written and directed by Lou X. Lansworth, The Mystery of Death Under Sea.
Our time is your time. Your time is our time.
National Dairy presents the Seal Test Village Store. Joan Davis, proprietor, Jack Haley, manager, and our guest customer for this evening, Frank Sinatra. And here is the star of our program, Joan Davis.
Hello, Seal Test Village Store. Oh, hello, Ma. Yeah, Frankie Sinatra arrived in town this morning, and he's coming here to the store. Sure, I'm going to try and get a date with him. So long, Ma. Gee, John, if I can get a date with Frank Sinatra, I'll bet all the other girls will tear their hair out. Then he'll probably go steady with me, because I'll be the only girl in town who isn't bald-headed.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of The Night the Fog Came.
Pepsi-Cola presents Counter Spy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy. Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Harding, Counter Spy, calling Washington. United States Counter Spies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad.
Is it animal or vegetable? Is it a living American man?
Would I wear it on my new spring hat?
Is it located in Europe?
Would my Uncle Albert smoke it? Yes, all America's playing 20 questions. In cooperation with the puzzle and game section of Paget magazine, Mutual presents 20 questions. And here's Bill Slater.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Come on and play 20 questions with us, and here's how you do it.
Exploring tomorrow.
Science today is seeking to discover and to understand more and more of the marvelous hidden powers contained in the mind of man, and to explain the different types of psychic phenomena. This afternoon, WOR, with psychic investigator Hugh Lynn Casey and two eminent scientists, continues its exploration of mysteries of the mind.
Now, smile a while with Lorenzo Jones and his wife, Belle. We all know couples like lovable, impractical Lorenzo Jones and his devoted wife, Belle. Lorenzo's inventions have made him a character to the town, but not to Belle, who loves him. Their struggle for security is anybody's story, but somehow with Lorenzo, it has more smiles than tears.
It's time for My Favorite Husband, starring Lucille Ball.
Jello, everybody.
Yes, it's the new Gay Family series starring Lucille Ball with Richard Denning, brought to you by the Jello family of desserts. And now Lucille Ball with Richard Denning as Liz and George Cooper, two people who live together and like it.
The NBC Star Playhouse. NBC presents Helen Hayes, Frederick March, Florence Eldridge, Rex Harrison, Lily Palmer, and many others of the most eminent actors of our time transcribed in the NBC Star Playhouse. And here is our host, John Chapman, drama critic of the New York Daily News, to introduce this week's Star and Play.
In response to requests representing millions of listening friends, the National Broadcasting Company is pleased indeed to bring you again The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective. NBC welcomes back to the air a character who has captured the public imagination more completely than any other since the birth of Sherlock Holmes. William Spear, radio's outstanding producer-director of mystery and crime drama, brings you the greatest private detective of them all in The Adventures of Sam Spade.
That parrot is right, Captain. There's plenty of loot, all right.
Kids, don't miss this exciting pirate story. And here to tell it is Smilin' Ed McConnell.
Yes, kids, you better come running into old Smilin' Ed and his Buster Brown gang. I got shoes, you've got shoes. Why, everybody's got to have shoes. But there's only one kind of shoes for me. Good old Buster Brown. Yes, sirree. Oh, yes, sir. Buster Brown is on the air out here in Hollywood with Smilin' Ed, Squeaky the Mouse, and Midnight the Cat, Grandy the Piano, and old Froggy the Gremlin. And we're going to start our program off right now with our story, so don't you miss it.
The story you're about to hear is true, but strange. Strange, true stories of the supernatural. With your narrator, famous author, lecturer, and expert on weird and unusual events, Walter Gibson.
Thank you, Charles Woods.
The Quiz Kids, celebrating their 8th anniversary, brought to you by the makers of Alka-Seltzer.
Alka-Seltzer for headache.
Alka-Seltzer for acid indigestion.
Alka-Seltzer for cold discomfort.
Only 5 more days before the big 4th of July weekend. So buy that extra package of Alka-Seltzer now and take it with you wherever you go.
And now, attention, Quiz Kids. Here's the question that we'll consider first this afternoon. How might you write the number 2000 so it would suggest one of you 5 Quiz Kids?
Yes, that's question number 1 in our 418th broadcast, our birthday program, celebrating 8 years on the air. And now, here they are, the Quiz Kids and the chief quizzer himself, Joe Kelly.
Thank you, Bob Murph. 5 bright-eyed youngsters here in class to blow out the candles on our birthday cake and help us celebrate this broadcast that completes 8 wonderful years on the air for the Quiz Kids program.
RCA Victor, world leader in radio, first in recorded music, and first in television, presents the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show. For your enjoyment, here is the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show, transcribed, written by Jack Douglas and Marvin Fisher, with Elliot Lewis, Walter Tetley, Janine Roos, Ann Whitfield, the orchestra under the direction of Skip Martin, and yours truly, Bill Foreman.
This is Bela Lugosi welcoming you to Mystery House.
Mystery House, starring Bela Lugosi. Mystery House, where live again the stories of the greatest mystery theater the world has ever known, the Grand Guignol of Paris. Mystery House, where tonight the distinguished actor John Carradine joins Bela Lugosi in presenting The Thirsty Death.
Ipana Toothpaste and Sal Hepatica present
Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Mr. District Attorney is brought to you by Ipana Toothpaste and Sal Hepatica. Ipana for the smile of beauty, Sal Hepatica for the smile of health. Ipana, Sal Hepatica.
Shall be my duty as District Attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens.
WNBQ, Chicago.